Samurai Jack turns into a chicken. Literally in the first episode of season 3, he gets turned into a chicken by a wizard he bumped into. And the entire episode is him fighting in an arena as a chicken. A pretty weird plot for an episode. Anyway, season 3, let's go. There are a few favorites of mine in this season, but I want to start with one that has my favorite character in this season. Episode 7. In this episode, Jack meets a strange creature, and for some reason, the creature decides to follow him, and becomes troublesome that Jack gets impatient with him. Jack does eventually get used to his company and starts to like him until the creature for some reason needs the crystal that was going to bring Jack back in time, which made Jack go back to being annoyed by him and leaves him early in the morning. Jack then encounters a gang of robots that beat the crap out of him. The creature catches up and witnesses this situation, which makes him turn into a giant red monster and destroys the heck out of these robots. The episode ends with Jack realizing he's not so bad and can be very useful, and heads towards the sunset. I like this episode not only because the creature is adorable, but that Jack was impatient with somebody, which we don't really see that much, since a big trait of his is that he's very patient. So it's interesting to see that side of him.
I told you, you have got to stop following me. My journeys have taken enough of my energy. The last thing I am in need of is another burden.
The next episode I want to talk about is The Birth of Evil, which is a 2-part episode that tells the origin of Aku. It starts off in space where there's a battle between gods and this evil spirit. While this is happening, a little piece of the spirit gets cut off and flows through space, eventually landing on Earth, which kills the dinosaurs, creating tar pits and these weird tree-like things. There's also this scene where a farmer loses one of his pets by being drowned in one of those tar pits. Pretty dark for a kid's show, don't you think? The Emperor, Jack's father, decides enough is enough and gathers an army to destroy this evil thing. When he reaches the center of the evil thing, he shoots a poisonous arrow in the center of the tar pit, which then awakens Aku, and Aku is like, "Hey! I'm going to make you regret what you just did by tying you up and making you witness me destroying your kingdom." Man, that's pretty brutal, Aku. But they don't call you
the Shogun of Sorrow, the Deliverer of Darkness.
For no reason. All hope was lost until a giant horse saves the Emperor and takes him to a temple in the sky, where he meets the gods of the universe and tells them, "You are chosen to wield the magic sword that can defeat Aku." The Emperor has an epic battle with Aku and seals him away, and the episode ends with them starting a plan for his return. I kinda like this episode. I like that we get to learn about Aku's origins. I like some of the dark themes that were shown. Also, Aku was great in this. Aku is my favorite character, so I love seeing more of him. There were 2 things I don't like about this episode. One, I'm not much of a fan of the Chosen One trope, and I was confused. Why did the gods choose the Emperor to be the Chosen One? And why did it take a long time for them to do this specific thing? Well, gods do things that don't make sense sometimes, so it's accurate. The second thing I have a problem with is I wish they explained the whole thing with Aku's awakening. What was in the arrow that made him awaken, and why that thing specifically? Why did the Emperor do that? Why did he think that was going to destroy it? Did I miss something? Hey, Mr. Editor here. I do want to bring up that I did miss something. Apparently the monks told the Emperor about the poison thing, so he just trusted them. So I guess it makes sense why the Emperor would think that that would work. Other than that, pretty good episode. Next episode I want to discuss is Episode 3. I like the Western genre. Not in an obsessed way like fantasy. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I would put it at 6. I can enjoy it, but I don't make a big deal about it. So the episode did sell me on the genre that the writers were going with. The whole episode is that Jack goes to a western town and takes a train there. While on the train, he gets attacked by 2 bounty hunters. One that is a cartoon version of True Grit, and one that is Hottie McBackstabbing Flirt. Apparently these 2 are exes, and the guy has a restraining order on her. The entire time he's trying to get Jack. And Saluna Woman tells him, "You can't do it without me." And he's like, "Piss off, women. I can do this by myself." He eventually gives in and goes with her plan. They succeed, and she's like, "Why did we even break up?" And she gets all flirty, and he gets all giggly fillies. And she pushes him off the train, and while that was happening, Jack was timing the rope and got out of that situation. The episode ends with this funny scene.
Sugar plum? Maybe I was a mite hasty.
Court says 150 feet, woman. 150 feet.
I like this episode, not only because of the theme and that it took place on a train, but I really like the new characters in this. Josephine was almost going to be in the thumbnail, but I wanted to put my favorite character of the season on there, so the bear beat her to it. I did find the scene where she was flirting with Jack funny because of how Jack reacted to it. I can't tell if he's not fazed by it or he doesn't know what to think. He does give in to her flirtiness, which I didn't like, but okay. Also, there's a scene where this guy who owns a bar is about to close the place, but once Josephine shows up, he keeps the place open just for her, and for some reason, this part made me laugh.
Actually, I'm very curious about the conversation you had with that big, tall gentleman that just left.
Oh, I guess you like them big, tall types, eh?
I know one of the reasons why I find that funny is because I'm short, but I can't relate to that because that's never happened to me before. I mean, if I stumbled upon a lady like that, I would be so shy. I would have a hard time saying anything, so I don't know why it made me laugh. Next favorite of mine is episode 5. This one was pretty intense. The entire episode is about the minions of Set, who are these unstoppable machines, and the only way to destroy them is to do these specific steps in order to summon what I think is Ra. There were times when Jack was in shock, but I don't think we've ever seen him in fear of something, which makes these guys terrifying. I loved learning about Egyptian history and culture when I was in school, so I like seeing Egyptian culture in media. Plus, this episode involves Set, who's also named Seth, which is my name. That's right. Not only do I have the same name as the son of Adam, but also the god of chaos. Now, on to my last favorite of mine, episode 9. This episode was spooky, and I like spooky. Not extremely spooky, but Disney's Haunted Mansion spooky. The episode starts off with Jack finding a girl that is crying, who runs off, and Jack decides to follow her. He then stumbles upon a mysterious house that is abandoned, and once he steps inside, things get creepy. Weird things start happening. He gets random flashbacks. The exits disappear. Just a bunch of weird, creepy nonsense. Then he finds a dining room and sees the girl and what seems to be her family chilling. Very strange, and Jack knows this. Then the family does that, and the dragon ghost appears, and then you get this interesting action scene with this pretty cool animation style. Then Jack breaks the curse, and all is well. Really enjoyed the spookiness of this episode. So that's all my favorites of the season. So now on to some of my moments I would like to discuss, and my overall thoughts with each episode. Episode 2, not really my favorite, to be honest. Episode 4, I've seen more of Aku. Already saw the clip of where he tries to stab Jack, so that part wasn't intense for me. This quote from Jack is kind of badass, not gonna lie.
Even I had forgotten that the sword was forged in purity and strength. It can only be used for good. In the hand of evil, it can never harm an innocent. And so, Aku, it cannot harm me, but it can harm you.
Episode 6. I'm wondering if Jack is actually going to look like that later on, or this is going to be retconned. Episode 8. That old man was clearly Aku, and I'm glad that it was confirmed earlier, instead of it being like, ooh, you don't know if it's Aku or not until the very end, because it's clearly Aku. He's got the exact same face and voice. I like at the end, Aku's like, haha, fooled you, and Jack's like, no, fooled you. Episode 10, interesting lore in this episode. It's cool to see that Jack's people have survived and are hidden from Aku. Speaking of Aku, this scene made me laugh. Jack was kind of stupid at the end. He was so close, going back in time, but he didn't want those guys to die, and he goes back and helps them. Even though if he goes back in time and stops Aku, none of this would happen. So I don't think Jack was smart at that time. And finally, episode 13. Pretty cool action episode. I like the guy of that episode. Do you have a name? Because I don't remember. A very weird way to end a season, but season 2 also had a weird finale as well, so it's nothing new to the series. Anyway, that's season 3. Pretty good season. Only 2 more seasons to go. Maybe next season I'll finally know the context of the extra thick scene. Also, I'm really excited to watch Samurai vs. Samurai. Anyway, that is the review. Get out of my face and do the things that the other YouTubers tell you to do, because I cringe at saying that, so I'm not gonna say it, even though I've said it in 2 videos now. So, goodbye. Gotta get back to the past samurai, Jack. Watcha. Gotta get back to the past samurai, Jack. Watcha.